Major Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. And if you do miss us, allow me to humbly suggest we do this every week.
We might. Who knows? I don't know. I'm having a great time.
Let me go back to immigration. Moments before you walked out here, sir, Mitch McConnell said, and I quote, that if you, in fact, use your executive authority to legalize a certain number of millions of undocumented workers, it would poison the well, direct quote, and it would be like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Do you not believe that is the considered opinion of the new Republican majority in the House and Senate? And do you also not believe what they have said in the aftermath of last night's results, that the verdict rendered by voters should stop you or should prevent you from taking this action because it was a subtext in many of the campaigns? Let me ask you a couple of specifics. Republicans haven't made a mystery about some of the things they intend to say.
Do I have to write all these down?
You're very well familiar with these. These will not be mysteries to you. Keystone XL pipeline, they will send you legislation on that. They will ask you to repeal the medical device tax as a part of a funding mechanism of the Affordable Care Act. And they have said they would like to repatriate some maybe $2 trillion of offshore revenue at the corporate level by reforming the corporate tax code without touching the individual tax code. To use your words, Mr. President, are any of those three lines you cannot cross, and also deal with what you perceive to be Republican attitudes about immigration?
All right. I think, Major, that I answered the question on immigration. I have no doubt that there will be some Republicans who are angered or frustrated by any executive action that I may take. Those are folks, I just have to say, who are also deeply opposed to immigration reform in any form, and blocked the House from being able to pass a bipartisan bill. I have said before that I actually believe that John Boehner is sincere about wanting to get immigration reform passed, which is why for a year I held off taking any action beyond what we'd already done for the so-called Dream Kids, and did everything I could to give him space and room to get something done. And what I also said at the time was, if in fact if this Congress could not get something done, then I would take further executive actions in order to make the system work better, understanding that any bill that they pass will supplant the executive actions that I take. So I just want to reemphasize this, Major. If, in fact, there is a great eagerness on the part of Republicans to tackle a broken immigration system, then they have every opportunity to do it. My executive actions not only do not prevent them from passing a law that supersedes those actions, but should be a spur for them to actually try to get something done. And I am prepared to engage them with every step of the way with their ideas. I think we should have further broad-based debate among the American people. As I've said before, I do think that the episode with the unaccompanied children changed a lot of attitudes. I think what may also change a lot of attitudes is when the public now realizes that that was a very temporary and isolated event, and that in fact we have fewer illegal immigrants coming in today than we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, but that what we also have is a system that is not serving our economy well. So
Republicans who say the election was a referendum, at least in part, on your intentions to use executive authority for immigration.
As I said before, I don't want to try to read the tea leaves on election results. What I am going to try to do as president is to make sure that I'm advancing what I think is best for the country. And here's an opportunity where I can use my administrative authorities, executive authorities, and lawfully try to make improvements on the existing system, understanding that that's not going to fix the entire problem, and we're much better off if we go ahead and pass a comprehensive bill. And I hope that the Republicans really want to get it passed. If they do, they're going to have a lot of cooperation from me. So let me just tick off on Keystone. There's an independent process. It's moving forward, and I'm going to let that process play out. I've given some parameters in terms of how I think about it. Ultimately, is this going to be good for the American people? Is it going to be good for their pocketbook? Is it going to actually create jobs? Is it actually going to reduce gas prices that have been coming down? And is it going to be on net something that doesn't increase climate change that we're going to have to grapple with? There's a pending case before a Nebraska judge about some of the siting. The process is moving forward, and I'm just going to gather up the facts. I will note, while this debate about Canadian oil has been raging, keep in mind this is Canadian oil, this isn't U.S. oil. While that debate has been raging, we've seen some of the biggest increases in American oil production and American natural gas production in our history. We are closer to energy independence than we've ever been before, or at least as we've been in decades. We are importing less foreign oil than we produce for the first time in a very long time. We've got a 100-year supply of natural gas that, if we responsibly tap, puts us in the strongest position when it comes to energy of any industrialized country around the world. When I travel to Asia or I travel to Europe, their biggest envy is the incredible homegrown U.S. energy production that is producing jobs and attracting manufacturing, because locating here means you've got lower energy costs. So our energy sector is booming. And I'm happy to engage Republicans with additional ideas for how we can enhance that. I should note that our clean energy production is booming as well. And so Keystone I just consider as one small aspect of a broader trend that's really positive for the American people. And let's see. Okay, medical device tax. I've already answered the question. We are going to take a look at whatever ideas. Let me take a look comprehensively at the ideas that they present. Let's give them time to tell me. I'd rather hear it from them than from you. Major,
I'm just telling you what they say.
Conceivably, I could just cancel my meeting on Friday because I've heard everything from you. I think I'd rather let Mitch McConnell. I'd rather hear from Mitch McConnell and John Boehner what ideas they'd like to pursue, and we'll have a conversation with them on that. On repatriation, I said in my opening remarks that there is an opportunity for us to do a tax reform package that is good for business, good for jobs, and can potentially finance infrastructure development here in the United States. Now, the devil's in the details. So I think conceptually, it's something where we may have some overlap, and I'm very interested in pursuing ideas that can put folks to work right now in roads and bridges and waterways and ports and a better air traffic control system. If we had one, by the way, we could reduce delays by about 30%. We could reduce fuel costs for airlines by about 30%, and hopefully that'd translate into cheaper airline tickets, which I know everybody would be interested in. So there's all kinds of work we can do on our infrastructure. This may be one mechanism that Republicans are comfortable in financing those kinds of efforts. So that'll be part of the discussion that I think we're prepared for on Friday and then in the weeks to come leading into the new Congress. Whew. Major works me, man. Jim Acosta.